Some of y'all about to be real mad at me, but it must be said.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Chidinma and I recently graduated from boarding school back in June. I went to boarding school from 2017 to 2021 and that was a very influential period of my life and I've seen a lot. I don't want to scare anybody away from boarding school or attending. Honestly, I do think that there are a lot of good parts about it, and I did talk about the benefits of going to boarding school in my boarding school advice video, so definitely check that out if you would like to learn more after you watch this video. Quick disclaimers, I'm not bashing my school in any way, shape, or form. I'm literally just telling stories, so I don't know, like if any old teachers or administrators see this, then sorry, but you can't do anything about it because I graduated. I'm also not going to be using any names of teachers, students, anything like that. The only students I'm going to name are people that I'm really close with and that you've probably seen on this channel anyways. But other than that, I'm not going to be saying anybody's name, so you don't have to worry about getting exposed for saying the N-word. I'm not going to say anything. Consider yourself lucky. Freshman year was definitely my most chaotic year. It was a 2017 to 2018 school year. It was my first year of boarding school, my first year living in another state. Back in New Jersey, I went to public school and private school. I did deal with some racism in private schools, but in public school, it really wasn't happening. I will say that my town is very, very, very diverse. I went to school with kids from all different continents and all different backgrounds. So I was used to diversity. When I came to my school, it seemed like people were not. I don't like to downplay racism and say it's ignorance because I do truly believe that people have a prejudice, but a lot of the remarks that I heard were just so ignorant. I'm gonna first be talking about my academic advisor. She taught this class called Study Skills alongside another teacher. The class was for new students coming into boarding school to help them adjust to the new workload and how to just overall succeed in a new environment. So some of the things that she would say in this class had to do with international students. I vividly remember one of the Mexican international students talking with her, and she was just talking about how this country being America, is not hers, the Mexican students, is the academic advisor's country. And she was literally like, this is our country, like beating her chest. It was so awkward. Another time she was telling the other teacher that taught the class that she liked this particular Mexican student because her English was so good. She said that's why they get along so well. I also heard my freshman year that other years prior she had talked about the Asian students, basically saying like, why are you guys complaining? You guys can't complain in Chinese schools, so like don't do it here. She also said stuff about African students, asking them if they had plus signs and minus signs and how many hours in a day there were. Outside of the classroom, she would touch black girls' hair, including mine, just without asking. She just put her hands in people's hair. It's disgusting. The next freshman year story that I have for you all has to do with my first ever basketball game. I had never played basketball before. I tried out for the basketball team in like 6th grade, but I didn't make it. I made the JV basketball team my freshman year in around November, and we practiced for 2 weeks until our first game. I'm not trying to gas myself up, but I do really believe that I was one of the best players on the team, but my first game was a disaster. So I was not used to playing basketball. I was not used to playing a contact sport. So I wasn't used to the pushing and the shoving and all of that. So I vividly remember, and probably like everybody that was in the gym that day during the game, because it was a home game, this girl basically shoved me and I cussed her out in front of everybody. Everybody heard, saw, the team, the coaches, the teachers in the stands, the students in the stands, the other team's parents. Everybody basically heard me cuss out this girl. I said like, don't effing touch me. I had to live with that instance in the back of my mind for the rest of my boarding school career because everybody always loved talking about it. Another thing that happened that first game was I was basically wearing like this fake bun style. I guess it was not on secure enough for the basketball game, and that's my fault. But during the game, it started to shift. It was basically coming off, and I literally started having a mental breakdown because it's so embarrassing when your hair falls out as a black girl. I literally started crying and having like a mental breakdown during the game, and I walked off, like not even walked off, I ran off of the court. Mind you, everybody's watching like WTF. The last freshman year story that I have to tell you guys has to do with a fight that I almost got into. I was very good friends and still am with this girl named Katie. Most of my friends were actually upperclassmen at that time, so I hung out with Katie all the time. Katie had this roommate who I'm not going to name. She and I had started off really close, but over time she started treating Katie like trash, and she also started coming for my other friends who were underclassmen. And mind you, not only was this girl a senior, she was class of 2018, but like I guess she had stayed back like 2 years in a row. So she was 20 years old. In 2018, I was 14 going on 15. The last straw with her was when she brought up some personal issues from Katie, and it really just made me so mad because I hate when people throw stuff back in your face, especially when you confided them about really personal stuff. I don't really know like how we started arguing, but I know that she had said something, and we lived in the same dorm. I lived on the 3rd floor and she lived on the 2nd. So one day it just erupted into this big mess. I came running down to her room. Everybody was surrounding the area because, you know, people love drama. And we were just arguing, yelling. She was literally screaming at me because she was like mad that I was calling her a 20-year-old senior. She did not like the fact that I was bringing up her age. I guess that was something that she was insecure about. And we almost fought, but I don't know. I guess somebody like broke us up. Then I went down to the duty office in our dorm, and I was so mad, and I was just cussing in the duty office. I was literally calling her out her name so many times. I remember this teacher just like not really caring, and then she said that I cussed her out. So I had to have a meeting with the principal and the teacher, and we basically had to talk about what happened. I didn't end up getting in trouble because why would I get in trouble for a 20-year-old antagonizing me and my friends? And that leads me on to sophomore year. So if freshman year was chaotic, sophomore year was even worse. So if you guys are not familiar, opening mixer is just this big mixer that all the boarding schools in my area have in the beginning of the year. It's usually like the last weekend of September, and all the schools are there. My freshman year opening was so fun. It was literally the first party I'd ever gone to, and it felt like there were no teachers there. But I guess the following year, the school administrators that kind of like ran opening mixer did not like the environment that it was in 2017. So for opening mixer 2018, they decided to change the format. When we got to the location of the opening mixer, we found out that it was a carnival instead of a dance. And I mean, carnivals are fun. Literally, they didn't have any rides. They just had a bunch of bouncy houses that I guess like 10-year-olds would really enjoy, but we were high school students and we really did not care about that type of stuff. Obviously, a few hours in, people were really bored. They didn't want to play in bouncy houses. They didn't want to watch movies in the gym. They wanted to dance. That's what opening mixer is for. A few people had speakers, and we decided to play music and kind of just dance outside. We were told that we could not dance, we could not play music. I don't know why, but teachers from that school were coming to us and they were like, stop, don't play any more music, put the speakers away. Probably like 30 minutes later, we all kind of gathered around again.
Hey! No music! No music! No music! No music!
And at this point, they decided to shut down the entire opening mixer. Just for some context, opening mixer usually goes from around 6 p.m. to 10. We got our opening mixer shut down at literally 8:30. It was so lame. I remember going back on the bus like, what did I pay for? Mind you, we had to pay to go to mixers. So opening mixer was usually the most expensive because it was the most elaborate. Most schools were there. So we had to pay like $40 to $50 for that. And we were only there for 2.5 hours. I didn't know it at the time, but that failed opening mixer really set the stage for the rest of my sophomore year. So I've probably talked about this a few times on my YouTube channel and some school videos, but my sophomore year, I took 2 math classes. My geometry teacher did not like me. Like, she can claim that it wasn't malintent, but you can feel when a teacher doesn't like you. And the fact that other students noticed it before me says a lot. As you know, Black students don't usually have the best time at PWIs because of lack of representation and lack of Black teachers, but she was a Black teacher on campus and she was very involved in the community around us, and as Black girls we were supposed to go to her for, you know, comfort, to talk about our problems. No, this lady literally would make fun of my hair. I remember this one time I came out with like a braid out, and she basically said that she would never let her Black daughter walk out like that in front of the class with a bunch of white girls. That was so embarrassing. You would expect another race of teacher to say that, but literally no white teacher has ever told me that. Like, ever. Because this teacher did not really like me, I felt really scared to ask questions in class. If I asked a question, she would literally yell at me, or she would treat me like I was the stupidest thing on earth. And obviously, nobody wants to feel that way in front of the class. So I just stopped raising my hand. I stopped asking questions. I would ask my classmates questions, but most of the time, she wasn't really that good of a teacher, so they didn't know either. At the end of my second trimester, I had a C- in her class. Honestly, if I could redo any part of my high school career, I would definitely redo my sophomore year, and I would not take 2 maths. I would not take 2 maths with a teacher that did not like me. I shouldn't have taken her class, and honestly, I feel like she felt that I was just not supposed to be there, so I just have this conspiracy theory that she was just trying to intimidate me to drop the class, and I should have literally dropped the class and listened to her. Last story that I have from sophomore year has to do with this girl who I'm not going to name. She was a pathological liar. This girl used to lie about where she was from all the time. We started off really close in the beginning, and I remember she told me that she was half Guatemalan and half black, and that's why she could say the N-word. And I'm gonna be very honest, her hair was very curly, so I thought that there was a possibility, but her story wasn't adding up. She was adopted from Guatemala, and she never met her birth mom. That's what she said at first. Then she just magically stopped being half black, and she began claiming all of these ethnicities in Latin America. She said that she was Guatemalan. She said that she was Colombian. She even said that she was from Spain. She also claimed that she had so many siblings, and I think it was like 14 to like 17 siblings. And my friend, my very close friend Hime, she ended up going to her house to stay over for break because Hime wasn't from the United States, so she needed somewhere to stay for like Thanksgiving break. And she was there, and she saw that the girl had literally no siblings. There were no other pictures of any other children but her in the house. And I remember Hime told me that like at some point her brother came, and every time Hime would want to see him and just greet him, he was asleep. And he never came out for Thanksgiving dinner. And that's because he didn't exist. She also lied, and oh my gosh, like telling this story, I get so sick because I really cannot believe that she did this. But this was like the moment that everybody just was done with her. She came from another school, and this is gonna be like a really sickening story, so I'm gonna put a trigger warning. So she said that she was best friends with this girl, and this girl ended up taking her life. One day was just crying. I think it was like in the beginning of November, so like November 2018. She was crying, and she basically told Hime and I, because we were her closest friends at the time, that she was crying because it was the anniversary of her best friend dying. So obviously, naturally, Hime and I felt really bad. We comforted her. So we come back from winter break, and we are practicing for the play. So it's early 2019, and again, the friend is dead.
If 2 + 2 is 4, right? And 5 + 5 is 10. Okay. What the fuck is this?
So one night, oh my gosh, and I really miss this about boarding school. We would literally like have dinner at night, and we would combine tables. It would be like 15 people. And we were just talking, and we were like, somebody's lying. Because this girl came from another boarding school that was in the area, we got some tea from some girls at that school. And they basically said that yes, this girl's friend had died. They weren't close at all, and she had died in November. The girl at my school was lying about her, and she was lying about their relationship. She was lying about when the girl died. It was all really so sick. At that point, I could not be friends with her anymore. How can you like tell lies about somebody's dead child? Who wants to be around somebody that lies about that type of stuff? Moving on to junior year, I go to an Episcopal school. According to humanrightscampaign.org, with an estimated 2.3 million members, the Episcopal Church is open and welcoming of the LGBTQ community. Unlike the worldwide Anglican Communion, of which it is a part, the Episcopal Church does not condemn homosexuality. So get ready for the bullshit. This girl, I'm gonna call her Camp. She came to our school from another boarding school, middle of sophomore year. Problematic from the start. According to Camp, however, and her viral TikTok video that she posted about my school, she was kicked out for being lesbian. This girl literally went on TikTok after getting kicked out from our school, and she basically busted our school. She ended up getting like 200K like likes, millions of views probably. It was so ghetto. Everybody in the comment section was dragging my school. And I'm gonna be very honest, I haven't always liked my school. I've had my issues with it. But when people blatantly lie about what happened, it just made me so mad. My school does not kick out people for being gay. Allegedly, it was really drugs that kicked her out. I guess she had a vape, and you can't have drugs at all in my school. You will get kicked out. Or at least you will have a really, really hefty penalty. So just be honest. Be honest, don't lie. You got kicked out because you vaped. Like, what more do you want people to say? And the fact that she weaponized homophobia as an excuse or as like a reason why she was kicked out was really sick. So from March to June, we had to online learn because of the COVID pandemic, and the rise of cases. My school was not prepared for online learning at all. None of us had any of our books because we had expected that we were going to come back and live on campus for third trimester, even though that didn't happen. We didn't have our uniforms, so they could not tell us to wear our uniforms at home. I specifically remember just going on my bed and literally sleeping during my classes. This specific story that I want to tell is from my English class, and at this time we were reading 𝒂𝒃𝒐𝒏𝒏𝒆𝒄𝒕. If you've ever read it, you know that they say the N-word hard ER like the way I say like. You know how many times I say like in a video? That is how much they say the N-word hard ER. And I don't understand why teachers feel the need to say the word. My white English teacher decided to say it. So one day we were just reading the book together on Google Meet, and I actually was awake for this, and she just glosses over the word like it's nothing, like it was natural. It was natural for her to say it, like she has been saying it. I literally turned off my camera so fast because I was dying laughing. So obviously I really was offended at the end, because I was like, you didn't need to say that. Like, what made you feel the need to say that? But at the time, I was so shocked. And there were 2 other black girls in my class, and we all had the same reaction. I literally was on my private story like, WTF. We didn't tell anybody about it, and she actually has said it again this past year, but the students in her class basically like rose up against that, and they were like, you cannot say this anymore. Is there a dire need for white English teachers to say the N-word in the book? We all can see it. Trust me, we all can. Do you have to say it? When we came back in August, we had to wear masks everywhere. This was before vaccines and all that, so I understand, but like, it was the way that teachers would enforce rules that they themselves didn't follow. I know that there's this whole thing that adults can like do whatever they want and kids cannot, but when it comes to a pandemic and a highly contagious virus, I feel that everybody should be on the same page. It was really shocking when they told students that they couldn't go home for any reasons, like they had to stay on campus, and if they did go home, they couldn't come back. But then we had teachers that were going to different states, going on vacation. Mind you, this was still in 2020, so we had no vaccines. Cases were still climbing very high. It was so hypocritical, and a lot of students' mental health was really bad because they couldn't leave campus. And I remember one of our teachers, she's not even really a teacher, she was like the dean of students, no longer there. She was honestly the worst of them all, and I like her as a person, but she was very hypocritical. She literally went on a vacation to Vermont in like November, and her excuse was, I wasn't able to go on a vacation. The last time I went out was to Las Vegas before quarantine. Wow! You mean to tell me that like you could not stand to just stay on campus? Like, you could have literally done this for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, but you decided that like it was so bad that you had not traveled in 9 months that you had to go to a completely different state. When you leave campus, you're supposed to come back and quarantine for 2 weeks. This girl touched down back on campus from the airport and went straight to duty. Literally living in the dorms, going in people's rooms, all of that type of stuff. Obviously, towards the end of the school year, we were able to do more things because COVID started getting regulated and vaccines started coming out. But like, for a good chunk of time, we literally were locked up. And it was the fact that like teachers could just do whatever they pleased that really bugged me. The next story that I have to tell you guys has 2 parts. And honestly, I feel like this is just such a defining moment of my senior year. We're in February 2021, so this is like 5 months ago. And it was the first time that my school was actually going to be celebrating Black History Month. Throughout my years at boarding school, Black History Month was talked about, but it wasn't extensively celebrated. We were given like a chapel service, like a 30-minute service. So one of the things that we did in the BSU for Black History Month were trailblazers, and we would talk about 4 Black trailblazers every day of February. The BSU at my school was not only for Black girls, it was also for white people, people of other colors. It was for people of different political beliefs. Like, anybody that wanted to be in it could be in it. So we had a white conservative girl. We actually had a few, but we had one specific one who we are going to call P. Like the letter P, not like urine. We had like a big like log where everybody wrote down like who they were going to talk about on which days, and she was going to talk about 3 conservatives out of 4 people. So it was like Ben Carson, Clarence Thomas, Candace Owens, and Harriet Tubman. So we all knew that she was going to be talking about Candace Owens. Like, that was the one that we were specifically like upset about, and we all knew that she was going to talk about it. I personally was like, okay, like, she's going to talk about it, whatever. At the end of the day, Candace Owens is Black. She may not have very popular opinions in the Black community, and I'm not trying to get political, so don't be in the comment section talking about any politics or whatever, because I really don't care. But I'm gonna just say that her opinions are not very popular in this community. But at the end of the day, that doesn't take away from the fact that she's Black, and I guess you can say that she has trailblazed in the conservative party, because you don't see a lot of strong Black voices there. So I really was not that upset, but I know a lot of other people were. So basically one day in February, P decided to, you know, send the email out with the Black trailblazers, and my friend, who I love dearly, but she can be a little impulsive, she sent out this long ass email basically talking about all the bad things that Candace Owens has done. The overall theme was, why are we celebrating somebody who is homophobic, who has actually said some racist stuff, who has said some sexist stuff? Like, why are we celebrating that? 5 minutes after the email is sent, the director of equity and inclusion at our school sends out an email to the school, and she basically says, like, you know, this is not meant to be like an argument. Candace Owens is allowed to be celebrated if that is what the student wants. And she basically shut down everything. So that was it. Nobody sent another email to the school. Nobody else said anything that everybody heard. It was just between these 3 people. And actually it happened on a Wednesday. So we had leadership, we as in the leaders of the school, and we were talking about it, and a lot of people were on P's side. And I don't believe that the other girl should have like sent out that school-wide email. I think that that was something that she could have just told her in person or personally. So our director of equity and inclusion at our school made the girl that sent the email condemning Candace Owens apologize to P. And P said that she wasn't upset, like it was okay, everybody has their own political views, opinions. This girl basically lied. She was big mad, and she ended up leaving our school like a week later. Then she comes out with this article. It's Ben Shapiro's like online news company, I guess, and she had this whole article about how our school bullied her for being a Trump supporter and a conservative. And that's a blatant lie to begin with. I went to school with a lot of conservative girls, so it doesn't make sense that the whole school bullied you, because if half the student body politically aligns with you, how are you being bullied by everybody? You're not. Like, no, that is not what happened. An email was sent with Black trailblazers from P. Another girl sent another school-wide email condemning Candace Owens, and it was shut down by the director of equity and inclusion in like 5 minutes. That was it. The girls talked together, they came to an understanding, and things were supposed to be good. So the fact that P decided to go to the Daily Wire and say that everybody bullied her kind of just did not stick with me. And the day that we found out that this article was posted online was literally the day of the Black Cultural Festival at my school. And if you watched my week in the life vlog back in like February, I did not talk about that situation at all because it was fairly new and I did not want to expose my school. We go off to spring break in March, and we find out that P is on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. Oh my gosh. When I saw this, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, was the Daily Wire not enough? And then like a few months later after that, she decided to go on the Candace Owens show and talk about it. So whatever, it's all out there now. But it didn't happen. Honestly, even during like the election and all that drama, there wasn't really much of an issue. Like, conservatives at my school and liberals at my school were kind of getting along together. At least we weren't talking about politics, so there wasn't really much of an issue. But that whole Candace Owens Fox News drama really just like deepened the divide at the school. So those are some boarding school story times that I have for you all. Honestly, I did not tell, and I could not tell every story because of probably legal reasons, literally what they're about, and just because I did not have the time to do it. But if you guys would like a part 2, I would consider it because there is a lot that could be said. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Plus, turn on post notifications to be notified each time I post a new video. I'll see you guys in my next video.